My name is Kampy, and I've been with Zeldathon since Zeldathon Lives.
Very good. And tell me about your first marathon. What was the experience coming into it all?
So, the first Marathon Lives, I walked into your house, because that's where the marathon was. And I
walked into his house?
Walked into this house, and I walked right into the marathon. And first thing essentially was, here's a laptop, you know how to read? And I was reading donations, and it was pretty crazy.
Did somebody actually ask you, do you know how to read?
Yeah. I can't remember who, but it was like, do you know how to read? Here you go. And it was just, because that's when we had everything off of just a laptop. We were passing everything around, and command station was in here, so everything was like separate in separate rooms. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, how has that changed over time, like the tech setup?
Tech setup, it's much closer. I think, was it St. Jude, we moved everything back out, and like everything was in the same room again, and we've stuck with that. You don't see tech desk on camera ever, but it's much better. You're gonna, like, you'll see donation station, everything is much separate now, instead of everything just being one person having to know what to do with everything.
Is there a big benefit to having the donation reader close by, or?
So the donation reader can like pretty much tell what's going on the couch, so they can actually see, like, oh, there's an event, so maybe you can be quiet a little more. So it makes it a little easier for the game runners and the donation reader to kind of be on the same wavelength.
And so as a game runner, have you ever ran a game at Zeldathon?
Yeah, I ran failed. What is it? Zeldathon. Failed that pretty hard, and I played Battle Quest. And I think that's it. Yeah.
So what's it like being like a game runner at Zeldathon? Like, is it different than just playing a game at home?
It's much different. At home, I strive to be competitive for myself, towards myself. And at the Zeldathon level, just hanging out with your friends on the couch is really fun. So it's just everyone just sitting on this couch, and we're all just playing, having fun. I actually learned a lot about the Zelda games from watching my friends play, because I don't know anything about the Zelda games at all.
Is that something you think people at home also experience?
Yeah, for a lot of people who've never played Zelda, it's a really cool experience, because you don't really get to see that just fun playthrough of that game. You have someone super knowledgeable, but also knowledgeable to the fact that they make the run enjoyable. Andy's Ocarina of Time run is always fun to watch.
And there's always runs at Zeldathon of games that people may not even know about.
Yeah, one of the CDI games are a big one. Everyone only sees the YouTube poops and stuff like that. And then I know there's a Tingle game I just learned about, which is on the DS. It's only came out in Europe and Japan. Didn't know it existed, but a lot of people don't know either. So you actually do get to find out a lot about the different Zelda games.
You get to learn the lore, as it were.
Yeah.
And at Zeldathon, I hear there's a lot of lore nuts there as well.
Yeah, I'd say about 3 to 5 super hardcore lore nuts, including SuperMCGamer himself.
Mm-hmm.
I know Captain Trina and Knight of Hylia. Stinus is up there, I'd say, as well, for a Zelda lore nut. Probably Rob too.
Yeah, they read the Hyrule Historia a lot. What's the Hyrule Historia?
It's pretty much the Bible to them. It's just it's Nintendo's official version of the story and the lore. So it's kind of law.
So, how have you kind of seen things kind of shift around at Zeldathon over time? Has, you of course mentioned the donation station moving into the same room. Has there been any other big major changes to what Zeldathon has been?
Professionalism has been a huge thing for Zeldathon, especially since I joined. That was the main transition from just hanging out. We stay with the same core of just hanging out on the couch, but we want to show a level and degree of professionalism. So we've moved from MC's house to hotels, and actually better hotels, and got better equipment. So it has matured and grown in that aspect, but we've also brought on a lot of really cool talent and friends, with musical aspects. Thunder Scott, Jackson Brody. We've brought a lot of really cool talent into it that help us out as well, because we can only do the same thing so many times and go off of that. But now having all these different artists who could draw, Rosie, she's incredible. She helps out with a lot of shirt designs, and our donation bar, which you guys will see at the new marathon, which is really awesome. And then all these musical talents, like, we're growing in the fact, like, we're not just staying with people we know, we're expanding out to people and inviting new and better people.
Do you think there's a point where you can expand out too fast, too big, or is there people that you want to avoid? Is this a thing that could become open attendance, or?
So I've pondered, like, the open attendance thing. I've talked about it a lot. I've thought about it. I don't think we'd ever get to that stage. I think we'd still be invite only. I am completely fine with that. The big thing is I don't think we'll ever grow too fast. I think having the like many attendees like invited, and just like even if they want to show up for like 1 day or 2 days, I think that's very important. We get different personalities involved. But I don't see us growing too fast for attendees. I don't think that's ever going to be an issue because there's always help that we could use.
And so you talk about the personalities. Has that been something interesting to watch? Because like what type of personalities really come into Zeldathon?
So when I first joined, it was a lot of quiet people, like who are very to themselves, mainly who on the internet, like people who don't know how to be around other people besides on the internet. So I've seen a lot of people grow and be more like big personalities. Frey is one of the huge examples, like one of my best friends, because he has an explosive personality, I feel. Yeah, I've just seen a lot of people grow into entertainers more, which is really neat, seeing that they're just quiet. And like Incase is another example. Incase is super quiet and to himself, but is probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. Just like how he acts on specific things. Like you just wouldn't expect some of those things he does.
And how have you personally grown?
How have I grown? I've stepped into more of a support role, I felt, like within the past year and a half. Instead of just being an attendee, I want to be involved more. So I want to help people with their first marathons or having any kind of issues. So I'm there to be the person to help through situations. If you're like upset or you're anxious or anything like that, I'm there to like, hey, everything's okay, let's go hang out, and get you out of the venue, breathe, just show it's not just like all this pressure, because a lot of people put all this pressure on themselves to try to like be at this level when it's not really. We just need you to be yourself and hang out. So my goal, and I feel put the role, is like I try to just help everyone out. That's the biggest thing I want to do. So I've matured into that aspect, like instead of just being on couch doing donation station, more of a support role, I feel.
And with those roles, is that something that's formally appointed, or is it something that kind of people just adopt over time?
People definitely adopt into it. So like you'll have the people that say like, oh well, I mainly went into this role of like doing tech station, or like big example, Shadow. Like you'll see Shadow mainly on, or you won't see him, you'll hear him on donation station because he has that voice. So he is put himself into that position. There's no really appointed roles. That's what's really cool about Zeldathon. There's no roles besides MC, he's the director, runs everything. Then you have Liz and Silver, which are the assistant directors, and then everyone else just has their specific roles that they do well, and they're not given. You just grow into it, I feel. Like, that's the best way I can put it. Like, you kind of grow into it and everyone accepts it.
And what I've seen is, like, sometimes people just, they're the people who are kind of like more jack of all trades. They're everywhere, they're doing all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I'd say, like, Scott's, I'd say a jack of all trade. Zach is as well. Thunder Scott's, I'd say, is jack of all trades as well. Like, he's really good on the couch donation station, just entertaining in general. So there's a lot of, like, which is really good, what we always need. But there are people that fit those specific roles that we need as well, that appoint themselves, essentially, or just grow into it. And they're just like, hey, I like doing this. I'm just going to keep doing this every marathon, which is awesome.
Is there anything that you see at Zeldathon now that's like, we need more people with this type of skill set?
More, it's really, like, how to put it, is like a variety broadcaster. Like, more people like Alex, like the number one Alex. I really like how he just is able to, I feel he's the best jack of all trades that we've had, because jumped immediately, like, was ready, run on donation station, is amazing on couch, has a great personality, can just keep going on with conversation, even just with himself. So just having that, I feel, is great. And people who, I feel like Tech Station could use some help sometimes, because we usually have just the solo wolf who wants to just sit there all the time. But no, I think jack of all trades are always solid, and just watching people evolve into that is really cool. Like when we get new attendees, like Rosie, I'll say Rosie was awesome our first marathon, because I was like, I don't know anything about Rosie at all, and just became like, we had a great time on the Wind Waker run. I called her Slappy because she was slapping me. We were doing crazy donations. Like, she, I'd say, is a jack of all trades because she did great on everything she did. So it's just cool seeing people evolve into that.
So let's talk a bit about the charities. So how normally, when a charity is selected at Zeldathon, how do people usually react to that, like in the community?
Very positive, actually, because we choose highly rated charities. So, and some of them are like people have never heard of. So Direct Relief was one that no one heard of. Actually, I've never heard of as well. And then when we learned about it, everyone was like, holy cow, this is not just benefiting just United States, it's actually benefiting the world. St. Jude's another big one, just because it's a name. So people are like, oh, I've heard of this name, but they don't know what the actual cause is. There's never been any negative feedback on the charities we choose, because we do a lot of research on with Charity Navigator and things like that. So we don't just choose random things. Like, we do a lot of homework, and then when people find out we do that, we put that homework in, they're very accepting and happy with what we choose.
So there's a lot of trust that the donors have that Zeldathon's choosing good charities.
Especially like how we like how long Zeldathon's been going on. We've not chosen a charity that has been like terrible, that people come in like, oh, this is a terrible charity. Like, we've never seen that in chat, so, which is a huge blessing and an awesome thing. So,
and how have you personally worked with charities like through Zeldathon?
So this past year has been a huge year for me with working with charities. So I went and worked. I went to an event called the St. Jude Play Life Summit. I got to meet a lot of other broadcasters. I think it was 60 broadcasters there. Got to go on the campus and tour it. Met with Direct Relief. I flew out to Santa Barbara and toured their facility. Got to learn a lot about that. And Help Hope Live. We went down to their headquarters, which was in Philadelphia, which was an awesome thing. So my relations with charities have been a lot closer, and I really like that, because I like learning about the inner workings, the faculty, and then come back to Zeldathon and say, hey, like, they're not only just a great charity, but they're a great group of people that actually have a bunch of caring staff that are very excited for us, because every staff member I talked to was like, they love us, and I don't know who they are. They're like, oh my god, you're this person, blah, 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 blah. It was really cool.
And they know Zeldathon.
Yeah, so it was really neat just seeing the enthusiasm, and actually having people, like, the staff that wants to come out and hang out with us. Like, that was a huge deal for me when seeing, like, Steve and Megan from Direct Relief, or now we have Zach Witten from and Susan, both coming from St. Jude. Like, having them involved is just a huge thing, instead of just having to bring back these experiences. They're going to be there as well.
So talking about Zeldathon Cures, what can people really look forward to with this one?
So this one is huge for us. Big thing is, like, we have a lot of awesome prizes. So the prize giveaways, like, you donate a certain amount, you're entered for a drawing to win cool things, and including up to the grand prizes of Wii U signed by us with Twilight Princess, and it's like a Mario Kart 8 bundle. So that's a huge thing. We got brand new cameras, so everything's gonna look amazing. New sound equipment, so it's just gonna look a lot more professional. We're put a lot of care into this, and I feel it's really going to show just overall. Like, once the marathon starts, I feel people are going to be like, wow, this is a step up, and it's going to be amazing.
And what are you most looking forward to with this next one?
Working again with St. Jude. So my second marathon was with St. Jude, and just having them there and showing them what we actually do, instead of them seeing like just what the camera shows. Seeing them there, like, behind the scenes working with us, and like what we actually do and how we prepare for things, that'll be really neat. And seeing and talking about it later and talking with them, like, that's a huge thing for me, just reworking with St. Jude again, because that was the St. Jude Zeldathon St. Jude was, I think, like $55,000, which was a huge amount. I was there for that whole marathon, stayed in Alex's room, got poop thrown at me by his little chinchilla or whatever it was. So that was my first, like, full-length marathon, and it's cool revisiting them, so it'll be a really, really cool experience. That's what I'm excited for. Very good. Anything else you want to add before we end off? No, just really excited for this next marathon within 3 weeks, so shout-outs to my boy Chaka. And yeah, joke blokes for life. All right, very good.